Welcome to a TRE session. Here I'm wearing a blindfold so that I can have lights on for the video without overstimulating my vision. Now, I didn't have the blindfold initially, and in previous videos I wouldn't wear a blindfold, but this is an important point to be aware of for ourselves. If we tend not to be aware of how our environment's influencing our body sensorially, then there's an opportunity, an invitation here to start becoming aware of that. So this is in your home and outside your home too. Being aware of, how are these sounds impacting my nervous system? How are these lights impacting my nervous system? How is this air conditioning or this temperature impacting my nervous system, or looking at screens, or whatever it is for you. So here, I'm not having big tremors. I had a lot of vigorous tremors yesterday, and I tremored multiple times, and so here it's more nuanced. I am pressing my chin down. This is something I'm going to start exploring. And I will start vocalizing here and also letting smiles through. That's something that's happening for me that I realize I suppress smiling out in the world. And of course, suppress vocalizing. And I say of course because I see that as a default thing that all humans in all modern societies go through, primarily because of schooling. That we have times where we have to shut up, and I don't think that's natural, historically speaking, when we go back to more primitive times. So there's impacts from that. So here I am letting out loud vocalizations, and this was a bit of a breakthrough for me, and I'm moving energy up my body, sort of like Reiki or some energy work. And you may or may not have a belief about that, or a skepticism about that, or a disbelief. And I don't have any concrete belief in the arena of energy either, but I know that the experience is real for me, and that I have a sense of being able to move that sensation with my hands in the 1 to 6 inches space around my body at certain times more than others. And so it's actually helping my expression here. So here, unexpectedly, as I was vocalizing louder than I ever have in a public place, which I live in a building where the sound travels through my room, so if people are outside in the hallways, they can hear me. And unexpectedly, I start crying, without tears, but I'm sobbing. This is not just tremors right here. This is crying, and it's been months and months and months since I've cried with tears or without, in a sort of sobbing, dry action with my body, with the diaphragmatic tremors. Which brings up an interesting point, which is that laughing and crying, rather, are forms of tremoring, natural diaphragm tremoring. And we all know how good we feel after a great laugh, or how good we feel after a good cry, most of the time. Maybe not emotionally, but physically we feel good. And here, the crying is over, but there's some more waves of tremors happening, and I'm vocalizing more. And I'm recognizing the past 24 hours, and in this session especially, that in a way, all is okay with what I'm experiencing as long as I can vocalize vocal suppression has been one of my primary physical suppressions, physical self-imprisonments, if you will. And so I'm having breakthroughs right here in this session in being able to vocalize so loudly, and there's physical results in that, in the form of me crying for the first time in a long time. And in the beginning of my tremoring, in the first couple months, and I was doing it quite intensely, I would have more emotional releases. And that's another good point to bring up here, is that many people have emotional releases accompanying tremoring, and many people have releases in general accompanying tremoring, but it's not necessary or even indicative of anything to not have big releases. All of our systems are designed somewhat differently, and we have different life experiences, different forms of suppression of our emotions. And I generally don't have emotions come up strongly anymore in my TRE, but like this crying was mostly physical, although it starts to blur the physical and the emotional when we have releases. And I actually don't find the distinction that useful in my personal experience, but I know that people sometimes make that distinction between emotional release or just emotions and physicality, as if they're two separate worlds. And to me, what matters is energy and the experience of energy in the body, which comes in the form of tension, sensation, and a sense of flow in a way. So here I feel a big wave of letting go, bringing my arms up above me. This feels good for me. This might not feel great for you, depending on your flexibility. This has definitely improved for me over my time tremoring. This didn't used to be such a good resting position for me with my arms way overhead like that. And I'll just start to integrate here. With just minor tremors popping up here and there. And one more note before we end on the crying. If you'd like to break up some energy blockages, or maybe get a cry going or some kind of vocalization going and you feel a bit frozen with it, I invite you to try fake crying, fake laughing, fake coughing. It really works. The body oftentimes will pick up that forced initial impulse and carry it through. And so you can have a genuine release through what might feel like half fake crying, half real crying, and it might be confusing in a good way to recognize, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this or if my body's doing this. I don't know if this is real or not, this crying. And it's a good place to be, because it's working and it puts you in charge. Okay, wishing you all really well. See you next time.